Women who shaped social change at Toynbee Hall. From its beginnings in 1884, Toynbee Hall has been shaped by the work of many women who have driven positive social change across London and beyond. Here are some of those women. Henrietta Barnett, along with her husband Samuel, founded Toynbee Hall in 1884. Despite her active involvement in Toynbee Hall and other projects, Henrietta has often been overlooked in favour of a focus on her husband's struggle for social reform in East London and the achievements of other men. But Henrietta's work left an indelible mark on the social history of London. The crucial and path-breaking work of Henrietta is now well known. However, some of the stories of other women in Toynbee Hall's history have not had the same attention. Between 1973 and 1994, Sabira Majid was the leader of the preschool playgroup at Toynbee Hall. She played a hugely important role for families locally, providing vital childcare for working women and families who needed support. The playgroup was a multilingual space, with English spoken along Punjabi, Bengali and Sylheti. Mrs. Majid also opened the doors of the playgroup to children from the former Yugoslavia who were fleeing war in the 1990s. Her work was part of a radical wave of thinking in the 70s and 80s about the important role of play for children during their early years. Rosetta Reardon volunteered at Toynbee Hall for more than 50 years. During that time, she supported local people in numerous ways, initially as a cook and later with a luncheon club for older people. She also helped set up a Girl Guides group at Toynbee Hall. Mrs. Reardon only retired from Toynbee Hall when ill health prevented her from working. She remains Toynbee Hall's longest-serving worker, either paid or voluntary, surpassing the 43 years of John Profumo. In 1922, Kerry Morrison qualified as the first female solicitor in the UK, after the Sex Disqualification Removal Act of 1919 removed the barrier preventing women from training and qualifying. Nevertheless, she found real barriers to accessing paid work within the legal profession. Instead, immediately after qualifying, she volunteered her time at Toynbee Hall as part of the Poor Man's Lawyer Service, now the Free Legal Advice Centre, which still exists today. The Law Society also recently recognised her contribution, naming a room after her. Edith Ramsay lived and worked at Toynbee Hall and had a huge impact locally as a social campaigner. She organised children's wartime evacuations, but is most remembered for her pioneering work in the 50s and 60s, supporting women who were at risk of sexual exploitation to access education and training. Toynbee Hall has always been a place for inspirational women to work together to stand up for women's rights. These are just some of the women who have made a substantial contribution towards driving positive social change and serving communities in East London. There are many more women whose stories have not been told or have been overlooked. This Women's History Month, we honour these women and look forward to creating a more just and equitable world. Today, we co-produce research alongside local people on a range of issues affecting the community. Our research and policy work provides a platform for local voices to influence thinking and policy making, both locally and nationally, based on lived experiences, to create long-term solutions to the systemic challenges people face. Let's hear from one of our women peer researchers.
So I initially started in 2019. I trained as a community money mentor and graduated from Toynbee Hall via Open University. And then I later trained to become a welfare advisor and volunteered at the Advice Centre at Toynbee Hall. And after that, I got involved in participatory action research. Participatory Action Research project involved facilitating workshops and helping design ideas and helping change policies, making it more mutual for both parties, the government and the public. The co-production approach is different to PAR. Participants feel listened to, they can input with their ideas and basically work co-productively for a mutual benefit. I'm going to be very selfish and say that I met some of the most amazing people doing some of the most amazing work. And to be honest, I feel very privileged to be part of Toynbee Hall, such a charitable organisation doing so much good for the wider community.
And here at our Advice Centre, we provide face-to-face advice sessions to community in East London and beyond. We help them with a range of issues, such as welfare benefits, housing, and debt. Let's hear from one of our customers who came to us in need of debt advice.
First of all, thank you so much for coming and speaking with us today. I'd like to take you back to when we first met and when you first came to Debt Advice in Toynbee Hall. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Overall, it's been a very good experience. Basically, you sat me down and told me the procedure, what you're going to do, the plan, how it will, turn out, and what you need to do, and which agencies you'll be contacting on my behalf. And it's given me a lot of reassurance because I was anxious before I came here because part of it with my debt was a court appeal. So it's really provided an essential space for me as well. So it's good to know that you've got that reassurance that you've taken, the situation in hand and, relieve me of my anxiety basically. Also, the agencies that you've contacted, they've given me breathing space. So that means, I've got maybe 30 days to relax without, stressing myself out and without, the situation reverting back on me, being anxious again. So it's really, it's a big relief. And the service you provide here is excellent.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It's really insightful. I did really appreciate when you did mention, obviously, we discussed a lot in our first appointment.
Yeah.
I know it might be difficult, but I did want to ask you, do you remember what reasons you came in for debt advice?
Because there was a court appeal because my debt got out of hand due to my resources, which isn't enough. So there was a court summons for me to go to court. So that's where the anxiety came in. And you relieve my anxiety because you've applied on my behalf. And now I've got a grace period, a breathing space period, where I don't have to worry. So it's taken the burden off of me, like I said. Yeah.
No, I am really glad to hear that. And, we love when you come in every time as well. And it's lovely to speak to you every time.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously we did have a plan and a process to help you become debt-free.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say was the most helpful for you during the process and the plan?
The most helpful thing is that was that you're getting in contact with the agencies on my behalf, so I don't have to do it and stress myself out. Because sometimes these agencies, they don't listen to people. They don't really listen to you. So when you're having somebody else, like a third party like yourself, getting involved, then it really does help and it benefits the person who's inquiring. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Everybody listening to this will hopefully get that confidence to make sure that they come to us for help because we are able to do things like this.
Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned that obviously you found it a really good experience.
Yeah.
So I basically just wanted to ask you, how are you doing now?
I'm feeling so much better because I don't have that issue and anxiety and the burden of worrying and stress because it's been taken off my shoulders, thanks to you.
These are just a handful of stories on how Toynbee Hall has helped empower the lives of women in today's society. We hope we can continue to improve the lives of women for a more equal and fulfilling society.